Welcome to Hunty's World of Pain, World of Pain. Alright, have here game with opponent rated 1506. It's a 5-minute blitz at the start. Normally the World of Pain videos are blitz where I get a decent accuracy. Okay, so I've got the white pieces and I start with pawn to e4 and we have a Vienna. Okay, this is normal semi-copycat. I come out with the bishop and now my opponent does something questionable. Pawn to a6. Okay, so it's preventing my knight and my bishop from coming to the b5 square, but the problem with this is that I can now start to attack quite freely. So we start with a wayward queen style assault here, and we're attacking there. Now, the best move is g6. The second best move according to the engine is queen e7, and then there's knight h6 to defend the f7 pawn. My opponent plays none of these moves. My opponent plays queen f6, very natural looking move. It defends the thing, but you've got to remember where you are. You're in Wien, you're in Vienna, right? And you've got to be very careful, because now I get to come in with my knight. And this is the point. The queen can't stay there and can't go there. The only way to defend c7 is to retreat all the way back, but then I can take, and if queen takes, boom. It's like mate in two, I think. Okay, so she doesn't do that, she comes here. So what do we do? There's two options. They're both excellent. Doesn't really matter which way round you do it. I traded queens, then took there, and then took the rook. Okay, question is, can we save the knight? Can we extract the knight from behind enemy lines? It's not looking that likely. I decide to try something here with a4, a5, but I realise now actually my opponent has b6, which prevents a5, and which he does find. But he's had to have a really good think now already. He's already burned a minute 20 of his clock. So I grab this free pawn here. He comes after the bishop and I desperado capture. It's not actually best. It's saying here c3 or d3 are better moves, but I thought, sod it, grab a pawn on the way out. He captures with the bishop, obviously. So, where are we? I'm actually +5 materials. I still have all of my pawns on the board. And I'm up an exchange. So I've got 3 pawns and an exchange, +5. Now d3. He pushes a pawn. And, I was already actually eyeing up that square for my bishop anyway. And my concern was knight blocking on f6, and I didn't really want to take and then repair his pawn structure, but he does me a favour and just blunders a pawn. King moves out the way. I come back, try and trade off the bishops. He accepts. I still haven't used a minute of my time, and P. Barata from Portugal is he's got 3 and a bit minutes left, but he rushed that move right at the start. This is the point. And now I come in, I just want to trade off more gear. So here, I think I just decided to develop the knight. I might even castle, get the rook behind the knight. He comes in now. Now here's the problem. If I castle, my rook ends up here. He takes on here with a fork, so we can't have that. So it's king e2, right? Never ever have your heart set on a move. Okay, he comes after my bishop. I decide to drop back. He comes here, and now I just take. And I've decided that however he captures, I'm trading off. Okay, and now we're in the process of building a bit of a light square pawn chain, making life difficult for the bishop. We're also targeting this pawn at some point. Kick the knight away. The knight is the only defender of the pawn. We win the pawn. Now I just put my rook on the open file, putting pressure on the knight. He moves his rook across. I'm just now bringing my knight round. Obviously I've got eyes on d6 with a fork to trade off more material. And now b3. So I've got all of my remaining 7 pawns all on light squares. Right now that makes life very difficult for this bishop. It can't go to any of these squares on the board. Okay, or the ones that the pawns are on. So, bishop's kind of out of luck a little bit. Knight comes in here. He's eyeing up a knight fork. so I just lift my rook. That's kind of doing me a favour anyway. I'd probably like to play rook AF1 and double up anyway. Check, I move away, bishop comes in. I just bring my knight in now. You know, I've got lots and lots of scope for this knight. A couple of very nice outposts here. I'm actually thinking of this with a fork on knight and pawn. That does nothing to stop it, and the knight comes back to defend the pawn, but I can again kick the knight away. And I slide my rook over to h1 just to, well, no reason to give up a pawn, is there? Okay, let's hit the bishop. Bishop moves back to here. I think actually this square was better for the bishop, because now I have this with a fork on king and knight. He's forced to take. I take back with a pawn. Again, just all my pawns on light squares here for the time being. And this is a nice little move, I think. I don't know if it's the best. Yeah, it's the best. Along with rook f7. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking these dark squares away from the king. So the king's really running out of space now. He's down to 50 seconds. I've still got 2 minutes on the clock. I chuck in a check. And now it's operation moving the pawns onto the dark squares. Okay, obvious pawn fork threat here. Something must be done. He comes in. Another dark square. Rook comes in. So he might have ideas of this. Okay, let's put paid to it any of those ideas. He comes back here. Notice that f1 is guarded by the bishop. So I throw in a check. He's down to 35 seconds anyway. Double up the rooks. He checks me. He comes after my pawn. I'm like, you're not having my pawn, bro. Okay, it comes after this pawn. I'm like, right, okay, throw in a check. And throw in another check with a pawn. And up comes the king. He takes the pawn, but he's down to 13 seconds anyway. At this point, I blunder. And he could have captured my bishop, but he doesn't there. And that is the end of the game. C8 equals Q hashtag for check chickadee mate, and nice little finish. So a quick look at the review. 87.9 accuracy for yours truly, 79% for my 1500 rated opponent, and 1900 guess the elo in a 5-minute blitz game. But again, you know, really all came down to this, right? Yeah, this was inaccurate, right? It says just develop, right? But I'm on the front foot here. My opponent really has kind of just wasted a move very early on. And that's the critical mistake. Very easily done. You forget that this is the Vienna. You forget that this knight is just one jump away from d5, right? And there you go. It just pays to know your patterns, know the common patterns in your openings. And there we go. Thought you'd enjoy that one. Thank you for joining me on Hunty's World of Pain on tour. Thanks for watching. See you later.